that? Oh, shoes. Mm-mm-mm-mm. It seems we are good. You just put on your headphones? That's nice, Lunatic. Great timing. Great timing. We are gonna start. There we go. Hello, Lunatic. How are you doing today? Like, I sat down, looked at my stream, put on the headphones, saw the stream change to live. Like I said, great timing. Great timing today. Am I putting my headphones backwards? Hold up. No. No, they are correct. They are indeed correct. But yeah, hope you are doing good today, Lunatic. Man, last week was an interesting one. Last week was very interesting. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually gonna do a week recap because when I streamed last week, there were certain things I wasn't allowed to talk about yet. But I can talk about them a little bit more today. I hope you're doing good too. And just said you were, so that's good. Let's see. I actually got commission work again today. I've been getting a lot of commissions actually. Hello, the Mighty Mantequilla. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. We're about to start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hello, hello. Hope you're all doing good today. Yes, yes, yes. Today. It's pixel art time. Yes. So, what are we got on our dish today? I got a furry art commission. Basically, I am gonna do the headshot of both these characters in pixel art. And it's gonna be a little bit spicy because these two characters are actually one. So basically we got a werewolf situation. So I'm gonna have to make then idle position and then transformation. Also, one character is half hidden by the chat box. Oops. There it is. Well, also like this works. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So anyways, man, I have been busy with commission work this past week. I have been actually pretty busy with commission work. Was like, I returned. I thought I wouldn't get a whole lot of stuff for a while. That's giving. I mean, Lunatic, if we actually look back, I've been doing a lot, doing furry commissions for a while now. To exactly one person who always commissions me. I mean, hold up. There was this one. For instance. I am okay with doing furry art. I don't have a problem with it. I think we should start with the eyes. The eyes always reveal a lot about the character, and they're so... Don't know why I keep slipping my mind, but this isn't your first rodeo. It's because I'm not specialized in it, right? Usually people who do furry commissions go lean aggressively into it, I guess. Meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, it's a side thing. I don't know. I think usually when you find a furry artist account, it's very rare to see non-furry art sprinkled in with the furry art, you know? Have you ever stopped to think about that? Usually what happens with furry artists that they have like 90% of their works is furry OC, and then you have like 10% being something else. So sometimes you will enter the account because of the something else, and then you're like, oh, actually this is a furry account. Okay, I see, I see. You know? I haven't actually thought about it, but I also don't really know any furry accounts. That is fair, that is fair, that is fair. Sometimes when I'm scrolling through Twitter, right? Twitter or Blue Sky, I sometimes can find I sometimes look at artist account and stuff like that. Every so often, sometimes it's like, oh, that's a pretty nice drawing. Other times like, ooh, this could be reference for something. And then you discover, you learn more about the artist and their preferred medium whenever you're doing that. And there is definitely like a division between furry and non-furry artists in the sense that the content tends to be more skewed towards one group than the other. Which is interesting because I know that there are furry commissioners that have both furry OCs and non-furry OCs. But I guess people like to specialize. Maybe because of the mighty algorithm, if anything. The algorithm says it's much better if I just do one thing over and over again than I actually bring diversity. It's whatever. It's whatever. Me, I like to do different things. if I may, I probably actually feel a little bit bad if I make a extremely successful your character here, and then all I have to do all day is a bunch of your character here over and over with a bunch of different OCs. Even though technically it is much less work and much more efficient. It definitely is for your mental health. It definitely is for your mental health. Which is almost a meta. A lot of people like start specializing in one thing when it comes to content creation, and then over time they will transition to variety. But usually what got them there in the first place is like this one very specific thing. And knowing when to transition from that is almost like an art form for some content creators. But of course, I'm speaking like this from the perspective of someone who followed a few people's careers, right? But they had like what I like to call special circumstances. The special circumstances being they were card game content creators. And card game content creators, I think its content creation is a little bit treacherous in a sense. I think it's a surprisingly hard one. Although it might actually extend to competitive games in general. Because, like, I know what I like when I'm watching a content creator that does stuff like for a competitive game. Let me try something. Can I actually get away? I can actually. I just have to adjust. Behold, no need to reinvent the wheel. Now let's make sure the pixels are all right. There we go. Make this a little bit sharper. I think... Yeah, let's make the eyes a little bit sharper in general. She's still pretty sharp. Oh. So. New stuff. Next week we're gonna start the art lessons. Right. I already bought a pencil case. I already bought all my materials with Mamochi. Yeah, art lessons. It's on there's this art school in my town that's actually pretty decent. One of the teachers actually does some off work for Marvel Comics, drawing comics there. So it's actually really high quality. It's actually pretty good quality. And they were starting some basic art lessons, right? And Momochi wanted to go there because she's been feeling like her art style is stagnating a little bit. And usually whenever she feels like that, what's useful for her is studying. So we actually talked about it, and because I never gotten much of a too much of a formal art training, right? When it comes to pixel art, I'm very much self-taught. And drawing in general, I haven't drawn in forever. I did take some like really basic art lessons from essentially another kid that went to the same card game shop as me. So it was nice, but it has been years. And I haven't really drawn anything with pencil and paper in forever. And I don't know if it makes too much of a difference or not, but I want to try. I want to try to learn more art basics. They're gonna cover a lot of stuff like perspective and shape and shapes and all sort of stuff, right? And maybe, just maybe, I might learn what a triangle is. Nah, not that kind of, not like, it's not like that actually, but yeah, but basically it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a useful experience for me. Momochi thinks so too. In fact, one thing that I really want to check out at that school at one point is apparently every blue moon there is an actual course for pixel art. I'm not going with that one yet because I don't know when they actually do it. Learn a square-based pyramid and a rectangular prism. Nice. I don't know when that actually comes off, and honestly, before taking that course, I would actually like to see what the pixel art of the teacher is like. Because I have no idea what a pixel art course would look like or would entail. So that got me curious, but also money is a finite resource, so let's go with something we know it's gonna be good. Imagine Kiba looks at the teacher pixel art and points out mistake. That is, obviously, honestly, that is something that I'd be actually afraid of happening. I would actually be afraid of that happening. Because it is kind of awkward. It is kind of awkward. I don't think that would happen, right? They would get a teacher that knows what they're doing. It's just that pixel art's so niche that there is a slight possibility for something like that happen, which is why I would need to just check to see if my teacher is someone who knows what they're doing. Right? Okay, so stuff of the week that I can talk about that I couldn't last time. Last Friday. No, actually, the Friday before that. You know how we had the Scuff Day at the beginning of the month instead of the last week of the end of the month? Well, that's because I actually gotten an emergency commission. Kiba doing furry? Sharky, I've been doing furry for a while. How are you doing? In fact, my first not safe for work was actually furry. Here. I think I did this a few weeks before, too. I'm pretty sure I did this one on stream. Wasn't it the bee? It was the bee, yes. That was the bee. I do find it interesting, though, that the person who commissioned me the Not Safe for Work art actually never commissioned another Not Safe for Work art. From me again. They felt bad and thought they were corrupting me. Which I think is really cute. Honestly, that's might have taken a stab at the hybrid form in Pixel. Might have you take a stab. Oh, you can? You absolutely can, Sharky. My commissions are mostly open, although I actually have this commission to finish and there's another one. Because the person who commissioned me made a mistaken payment method. So I couldn't get started on their commission right away because the policy is I only start on your commission after I actually get paid. And they ended up paying in credit. If you're wondering why I have that policy, because I already got ripped off once. So yeah. I want to commission Kiba more, only problem is my brokenness is reaching new heights. Oh no, Lunatic, be careful. Be careful with your money. Think this. And also, I do accept art trade. Like, if you want, you can ask me art in exchange for, like, rigging the Mama Kiba model 2.0. I would be ecstatic to use to pay like that, to pay for it like that. That way you get your commission, and I get to not feel like I'm taking advantage of you, which is, like, great. See now. Very much ideal. Also, you don't have to feel like you have to do anything for me in the Mama Kiba 2.0. Worst case scenario, I can find someone to rig it for me. If you're feeling too burned out from rigging and stuff like that too. But anyways, as I was saying, last week I gotten truly a foremost ideal. Last week I'd gotten an emergency commission. Last week. You understand, right? The week before Scuffy Day, I had an emergency commission. And it was a hush hush one, which is why I couldn't work on it on stream. Well, that and the fact that the date of delivery was the day of the stream, so yeah. There were two reasons why I couldn't work on it. And it turned out to be for a project of a bigger VTuber. I was contacted by one of her people who are working on it. Contacted by Bark. If you guys don't know who Barky is Giga's video editor / right-hand man, because he does a lot of stuff for her. Was it the one I sent to general chat? Yep. Exactly. Yeah, the hat thing. It was so out of the blue. It was such an interesting thing to be commissioned for. Apparently, Bark was looking at the credits, and he was like, I need... If only I could use something to spice up these thank you credits. If only I had Monster Hunter hats to put on the credits thing. So he appeared out of the blue on my DMs and was like, "Hey Kiba, can you do something for me for yesterday?" And he asked me for the hats and didn't tell me what they were for. At first, I agreed without knowing what they were for because, honestly, why the fuck not? I wasn't actually being commissioned for anything at the time, so it was a bit in a rush, but I was like, let's do this. And then he gave me like, was it Friday that he contacted me? I think it was Saturday. No, Saturday was when I did it. It was Friday. Contacted me on Friday. He said he wanted it done by Tuesday, but really it was like for yesterday. You know what I mean? The quicker you can finish, the better. We met before and he knew I did pixel art, so maybe he thought that pixel art would probably be faster to do the hat than vector art. Ah, thank you, Lunatic. Thank you. I did put a lot of effort in then. Hey, Kai! If I'm not mistaken, I also believe he said he wished they were animated, but he knew it would be too big of an ask, so he didn't ask me to animate them. Which, honestly, true. Would also have been a hell of a lot more expensive. But yeah, it was fun. It was like my first rush job commission. Well, not rush... You know what I mean. My first emergency commission, so to speak. Hey Kai! How are you doing today? interesting. I think the character has a bit more chin. Okay, got some straps for Sword Tooth. That's good, that's good. See here. Yeah, I think she is a little bit like that. Oh, we got this. You know, I was actually planning to sleep early tonight at a normal time instead of 1 a.m., but oh well. Take care of yourself, Lunatic. So yeah, that's why the Scuff Day ended up getting delayed. That and I also forgot, but... I managed to finish over the weekend. I worked it over the weekend a little. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of how they turned it out. I might post it on Patreon later. I have to check in if it's okay. Though I ended up forgetting to ask. I knew I couldn't post it before they were revealed, but I think now it should be fine. Still asking though to be polite of, if anything. Doesn't hurt to be polite, you know? Other than that, I had the interesting DM situation. Oh yeah, Firefist Gregor is gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Send you to Brazil. Hold up, Kai. Let me grab you. Three, 2, 1. Blast off! Wow, I think he went a little bit too high. Oh well. Ah, there you are. Now come here. I will still get back to playing Ender Magnolia. But I just felt like, I don't know. Chat wasn't having as great of a time while I was playing it. I don't know if I was too quiet, I wasn't being able to do commentary properly because it's a hard game. There we go here.
We love and appreciate you, Kiba AS. Long AS, you try your best, which we know you two will be happy. PR of Ruby Jain.
I feel like I need to change that to speech so it's that we're actually able to understand what she's saying. But thank you, Kai. I really appreciate that. Here.
LIMBUUUUUSCOMPAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA
Now, this absolutely does not work to actually communicate anything to the streamer. Beautiful. Hello, Mamachi. How are you doing? I am so excited, by the way, guys. I am so excited. They announced that they're going to do
Almighty Protector of the Sun and the Sky. I beg of she, please heed my cry. Transform self from of light and bring me victory in this fight. I beseech she, grace our humble game, but first I shall call out she name.
Oh
Winged
God.
Dragon of Ra.
Oh God. Beautiful. Sorry, Kiba. Press
아우
the
아우
sense
아우
started
우와
down.
우와 우와 오가 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 파파파 우우우.
Oh God. Glad to see chat is having fun with that. Glad to see chat having fun with that. Hmm. Oh, it takes us once to start and I'm falling
아이고.
like dominoes. Ayo. Oh my God. What was I talking about? What was I talking about? Hold up. What was I talking about? I don't remember. I don't know what we're talking about, and I haven't for a while. Oh yeah, I'm excited. Not sexually, but I am excited. They announced, guys, they announced it. They announced it. They announced that they are gonna do an anime version of one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. They are gonna make an anime adaptation of Suikoden 2. No, not Sags. Suikoden. I am sexually excited for Gregor. That makes sense. Think you really captured this. Can lower this a little bit more, like this. Do you guys know Suikoden 2, by the way? Do any of you know? I've been waiting. They've been promising a remake of that game since forever. And if it comes out, I am streaming it. I don't care. Yeah, it's a game I played a long time ago. Eiyuden Chronicles was very much supposed to be the spiritual successor to those games. Hey Kai! But the thing is... Oh, you found something you might be interested in learning existence? Oh. Yeah. Unfortunately, the problem with the Eiyuden Chronicles is that at least the... unfortunately, the Switch version, which is the one I have, is extremely broken. Like, the load times and everything are just... terrible. I'll check it out after stream. Okay, I will. So I ended up having to drop that series, regrettably. Because honestly, the load times were getting on my nerves. And I was like, if I am having trouble with these load times, and I have a lot of emotional investments to like this game regardless, I can't even imagine what the experience is for you guys. So I was like, better call it quits. Better call it quits. But anyways, I don't know if they are still making the remake or if the remake somehow became the anime, but I am really excited because it means I get to revisit the story, relive the story one more time. The whole TTS thing reminded me, I found a move-based alpha video thing again. Oh! I see. But like I said, I'm just so excited for the anime, because that was like my baby's first, wow, this RPG has a great story moment, you know? Most people it was Final Fantasy VII, in my case it was Suikoden. It was actually Suikoden 2. I lurk now, Kiba, much love. Alright, Kai, thank you for the lurk. Wow, this one is... This is an interesting one to draw because it's kind of less furry and more anime. It's still furry, but it's a very anime furry. So the proportions are actually trickier than the other commission I did. Interesting. Well, anyways. Hair time. Here. There we go. Gonna make it on a new layer to make sure I don't fuck up too much. Also makes it easier to edit. Hey Seiya, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Hope you're doing good today. Wait, I didn't put on a new layer. New layer, let's go. One step closer to drawing not safe for work for art. Do I tell in chat? Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if Isaiah was actually around for to know that. All right, thanks for dropping by. See here. Artists gotta do what artists gotta do. And honestly, the person who commissions me the furry arts is one of my nicer clients. So Otter is planning to spend her first video. I don't know. We'll see if I actually ever see a million in my lifetime. Unless you count when I was a baby and Brazil was going through a hyperinflation period, in which case I think my first million was spent on diapers. It's very funny. The person commissioned my first not safe commission ever. Commissioned another not safe for work. Never because they felt bad. Yeah. I told them it's absolutely okay. But I haven't heard much from them in the not safe for work commission side. Oh yeah, also, speaking of stuff, speaking of things, the other thing that happened last week, I touched it upon briefly on Discord, was I got my first weird DM on Blue Sky. A DM that wasn't a bot. It wasn't about commissioning weird stuff. It was genuinely one of those DMs where the person starts the DM role playing, and they called me darling. They called me dear and darling. I was so very confused. Not because I didn't know what that was. I was just, oh, this is actually happening? So when are you getting married? Yeah, no. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so basically person starts role-playing and like, is this happening? Is this actually happening? Is there anything in my account? I immediately was like, is there anything in my account that might indicate that I am open to role plays out of the blue? I'm pretty sure there isn't. Because recently I changed my avatar on Blue Sky and Twitter. So furry. Here's the thing, Isaiah. I got permission to from her to do the not safe for work furry art. If anyone starts to act saucy on my DMs, the first thing I will do is show Momochi the saucy DM. I will. It is absolutely the first thing I do. I feel like the eyes are too big. Bazet, thank you. Because one, I don't really have anything to hide from her. Theoretically, Lunatic, yes. Like, can you imagine? Like, I get a weird DM from someone I don't even like, but for some reason I feel like I need to hide this from my partner. Because I don't know, like, what would even be the reason? They might start acting jealous for some reason? That would be a very toxic dynamic if you stop to think about it, right? That's like sitcom levels of toxic. And you know sitcoms are very, very toxic. Plants can be toxic. That is true. But you know, have your relationships be based on, be built on trust, not fear. Gonna work out much better in the long run, I assure you. Trust and communication? Exactly, exactly. Because I know if Momochi gets any of these, she's gonna talk to me about it too. Yeah, you should let her go. You should let her go, Isaiah. You should let her go. You should release her immediately. So yeah, fortunately, as far as I'm aware of these types of situation, it didn't like ramp up to anything too big. Right? The person DM'd me, they were like starting roleplay. I I will admit to this. Usually if you DM me and I never seen you before, first thing I'm gonna do is take a look at your profile, particularly to make sure you're not a bot. But also to try to get the vibe of who I'm talking with in advance. What if she wants to stay? I mean, like free food and free Wi-Fi. Then that's her choice to make, and you should let her free to make her own choice. Exactly. That is her choice to make, not yours. But yeah, what was I talking about? I only have shitposts on my profile. It's basically just promote streamers I support. I wonder if I look like a bot. It's actually kind of complicated to... Oh, you know what makes you look like a bot, actually? What makes you look like a bot is one thing. If you have the profile of a hot girl and a bunch of weird links, if it says you support NFTs, right? And if your account has absolutely nothing to do with what you're trying to commission. Let's say I get a DM of a guy who like is generically praising my artwork and saying they wanna work with me on a big project for, I don't know, let's say for like OCs or anime or whatever. But then I look at the profile of the guy, and for whatever reason, it's nothing but car pics, you know? Like random pictures of cars, random personal stuff. That looks extremely sus. That looks extremely sus. Because usually people will align their accounts with their interests, right? Ironically, an account that would be like full of anime titties would look like suspicious if they were trying to commission something from me. Other than that, it's gonna be based on demeanor and vibe, essentially. Should I commission anyone via Blue Sky then, since my account is basically empty? Usually overly empty accounts look a little bit sus. And they might not, you might not look like a bot, but some online presence is a little bit more reassuring to me in general, because it means you like have something to lose. Because the time that I got scammed, right? I got scammed by this person who was introduced to me outside of an art community that I was on. The person who introduced me to the person who scammed me was in the art community. And they were actively getting a lot of artwork off their OC, doing several things. And outside of their account, they didn't really, there wasn't a whole lot of internet presence. At the time, I didn't think to check too much about that, especially because I mostly trusted the art community that I was on, so I didn't think anyone from that art community could introduce me to a scammer. I think I wasn't the only one who was scammed by that person, by the way. They pretty much pulled out any support they were giving to the people who drew their OCs fairly quickly. To the point where I think that the main reason I got scammed was actually because they got into financial trouble from commissioning too many artists, which is a thing that can happen. But regardless of what I want to think to rationalize what happened, the cold reality was I made $100 commission for him and he pulled the money. Yeah, thank you for the stretch, Mighty Tequila. So that's why I'm usually more wary. I usually always look at a person's profiles to try and figure out what's the vibe. Also, if you have like a good policies to make sure you're not gonna get scammed, the scammer will either try to push stuff that is like less optimal than your policies, or they will try to move on, or they will just move on. And they're like, oh, do you do commissions? Yes, I do. Here's my TOS. And then you never hear from the person again. Probably, sometimes they just lost interest. But a lot of the time it means they're like, oh shit, this person isn't as vulnerable as I thought. I'm gonna have to move on now. This is a waste of time. Am I understanding this here correctly? Persona music indeed. Persona has great music. But yeah, so I look at the person who was DMing me the profiles, and I immediately got hit by a list of all kinks that are okay for ERP. So I'll be real, at that moment I was a little bit like, oh no. I don't necessarily think this person wants to go dungeon crawling with me in this spontaneous RP that they just started. Especially because they're calling me darling. Now, Momochi wanted me to keep going and see where it would lead. But I was like, nah. 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 Honestly, because outside of the, like, extreme awkwardness of suddenly started RPing, the person I know from horror stories of similar situations, the person wasn't really being that wasn't being like overtly toxic, right? So I look at that and I was like, okay, so chances are, and because I have some extra knowledge, I have some outside knowledge. I know this from there were a few YouTube clips of people discussing this. The pioneers of the VTuber community, when they first arrived to Twitter, they discovered an interesting thing, which was that there used to be an anime roleplay community where people would use their OCs to roleplay with each other. And these anime OC roleplayers ended up becoming VTubers themselves, in a sense. They considered themselves VTubers. A lot of people refer to them as VTwitters, though, which are the VTubers that never actually do like streams on YouTube or necessarily do content, but they have their VTubers. They have models, and they have lores. They have everything, right? And there was this overlap, and the original people from the VTuber community, they're just role players. They were like, okay, I think you guys are VTubers too. So the anime role players got assimilated into VTubers. So because I know that that's a thing, I also know that there is a very strong possibility that the person started doing that because they saw VTuber from their own bubble. Most of the times they interacted with other VTubers, they were other role players who were probably into ERP. In fact, I kind of dug around that person's profile a little bit. I discovered there are actually thousands of like specialized ERP accounts out there. Some of them straight up using characters and images from Shimentais. From different Shimentais and role-playing as that Shimentai character. It was very educational, I gotta say. It was very educational. Gotta take that person for inadvertently informing me that this is also a thing. And I had no idea. It does also make me wonder, there are some people who VTube as a hobby, if they are VTubing just to justify having their OC. Or who somehow feel pressured to stream. To feel like they're closer. People ran a background check and learned a lot more than initially expected. Pretty much. Very informative, I gotta say. Very informative. So anyways, first my first reply to the guy was I complimented his entrance. Guy waltzed in, manifesting a golden door. It's a pretty fancy entrance, gotta tell you. Manifest ego? Not quite. Also quite a fit because in their profile, and I say guy, but I mean a gender neutral way. I don't know what their gender is. In my experience, there are usually people want to be associated with VTubers but don't want to put in the work. Yeah, like I said, the community... The community got, like, mushed together. So really can't even really complain since technically they were there first, you know? I'll be real, I don't care. It doesn't really affect me in any way. It affects people who might be trying to find VTubers to watch and maybe get a lot of spam, but I don't know. I don't even know if that's like a thing. I don't think it's an issue. Don't really think it's an issue. To me, do what makes you happy. I think I made this headshot too big compared to my other one. It is a very known issue to me. Let me see. The world's a wee bit fucked, so do what makes you happy at the end of the day. If you're not harming anyone, you are already ahead than a lot of people. Am I at the wrong thing? Ah, of course. I was wondering. Anyways. So I complimented their entrance. They continued the roleplay response, and they were like, I think they first called me darling, then they called me dear. Then I asked them what was that all about, if there was something I could do to help them. Then I finally managed to extract an out-of-character response from them, which they explained that they were looking to roleplay with fellow VTubers, which I replied with basically, thanks but I'm not interested. I basically said, thank you, that's not something I'm into right now. Hope you find someone to play with you. God bless, have a good life. And they didn't reply back. They didn't have a meltdown. But then they just walked away. That's the thing, they usually butt into topics that have nothing to do with them because they don't actually stream, but because they have a model, they look like they belong and the world means something to people. Not dedicated to... okay. I don't know. Because, like... I don't like to differentiate too much because... like, you take things with a grain of salt, but also if you start to... You take things with a grain of salt if you see that the person has been on pre-debut for like 500 years. and never actually stream it. I do think that people that doing background checks is like very easy to do, and sometimes even fun. And people don't do that enough. I am Isaiah, and you know what? I think we should insist on the topic, making everything overly easy doesn't necessarily help people's ability to develop their problem-solving skills. Love the history lessons. Thank you, Mighty Man Tequila. Because I'll be real with you. You can make everything be as easy as possible, as easy and accessible as possible, as humanly capable of. People who want to be stupid will still be stupid. Obviously you should make things easy and accessible, but to the point of reason. There is a point where it doesn't actually improve. You know what I mean? Because because here's the real sad part, right? There are people who aren't really stupid, but they interpret takes with the least amount of good faith possible, and then pretend to not have understood when they're put up against the wall on purpose. And it doesn't matter how easy you make how you explain it to them. The point is it's more of an act of bad faith than actual ignorance, and it's not gonna change anything. Yeah, debates don't work. Debates essentially don't work. Because, especially when people get emotionally invested in their own stances, beating the bad ideas out of them does not work. Does not work. In fact, there is a whole science part. There's a whole part of science that kind of tries to explain that. It's called memeology, the study of memes. But as good God, the Armstrong senator said it himself, memes are the DNA of the soul, Jack. They are the DNA of the soul. They are. I actually had a few classes on memeology when I was in university. Wasn't that Armstrong? No, Armstrong says Nanomachine's son. Who says memes are the DNA of the soul? Ah, Moonson. Okay. Man, Moonson was a bastard. I appreciate his fighting style so much. His fight was so funny. Was a very troll fight. It's a good game. Man, I had that for the PS3, but my PS3 fried. I have a physical copy of Revengeance that I can't play. I freaking have it. It's here in my office. And I can't play it. Because my PS3 fried. And it was an old model and couldn't be fixed. And you know what's the worst kick in the teeth? When I hear the worst kick in the teeth, I didn't know this, but apparently the PS3 that I had, the fat model, is compatible with PS2 games. So if my PS3 didn't fry, I could actually buy PS2 games to stream completely legal and own PS2 games. And other PS3 models aren't like that. And I had it. I had it. That is so sad. I also had a copy of that Scott Pilgrim arcade game, beaten up arcade game, downloaded on that PS3. So that PS3 actually had a rare game in it too. Because that game was taken off the... Of the PlayStation Network, if I'm not mistaken. I had it! Oh well. This is why you need physical media. I was so pro digital media. And then this stuff happened and you're like, ah crap, that's why. That is why. And the video game companies also being scumbags going like, oh, you should get used not owning games. It's like, frick you. Anyways, what were we talking about before I went on that rant? Welcome to my stream where I forget what I was talking about 95% of the time. Oh well. Anyways, Suikoden is getting an anime adaptation and I am so happy. I am so happy because I got to experience that game and that story again. Was so good. Reminded me of when Kojima visited Russia for an event, and during that time when a meme calling Kojima genius because it was really popular here. So there are videos of the event, literally hundreds of people greeted Kojima by yelling Kojima is a genius in Russian. Interesting. And that reminds me of that time Lady Beard came to Brazil for an anime convention. Flipwitch OST? Exactly. Very wholesome OST. Do-do-do-do-do. There we go. And for some reason I thought the music was what starts playing was Poem of a Machine. No. This one is Reset from Okami. Which is a game I have played on my own free time, and I never played on stream. And I kinda really should, since I'm a wolf. Heck, some of my lore does take beats from this game, actually. Why don't we do some Metal Gear Revengeance OST? Okay, so there's actually a good reason for that. This playlist was actually handcrafted by me to help me focus while I am working. And I'm usually not very good focusing with song lyrics. I tend to focus better with OSTs than I do with song lyrics. So that's one of the reasons I didn't add it. But I could try, add it some time. Left first warning or neural of carp in there. I do like chill music when I'm working on more, honestly. What I might do, however, is make a karaoke string at one point where I sing some Revengeance music. How about that, hmm? Add in some Millie songs and I am sold. Oh, I'm gonna let Momochi sing all the Millie songs, right, Momochi? You wanna sing some Millie songs live? I don't think she heard. Ah, there she is. There you go. Millie songs are deceptively hard to sing properly, by the way. I know, I sing it in the shower. Ah, Children of the City. That's a good one. Though that one is really hard to remember the lyrics exactly as it is. I do have a lot of trouble remembering lyrics in general. I usually have to sing with the lyrics nearby, so I can read them to make sure. I don't put different verses where they're not supposed to be. Ah, that helps. Come to think of it, when do we have an actual event coming up that we could do a karaoke stream? Let's see, we don't have any birthdays coming up. Right. Oh, it's time for another vendetta. Yeah, it's really good. Because if I want to do it, I do want to do it somewhat seriously. Because I've been taking singing lessons for a while now. As you may or may not remember. I would have, by the way, I was gonna have singing lessons today, but they've been cancelled because Carnival is happening. Like, today is actually the peak day of Carnival. There are probably gonna be a lot of parades on TV today. Although I keep replacing going through the shelves with combining through the shelves since I think it sounds closer when it is. Yeah. The worst part when you are practicing without a score sheet nearby is that you will make up lyrics, and then when you're actually trying to learn to sing the song, it's hell because you keep singing the song you made up instead of singing the actual song. And it becomes harder to separate. It's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. Oh, for the many times when I actually attempted to learn and sing a song, I kept the lyrics to read. That is good, that is good. There's this song I've been practicing called Pollyanna. It's a really cute song from the Earthbound games, actually. And I love it, but I need the lyrics. Anti-AFK boss in Age SR. What is Age SR? Still kept replacing some words since they don't sound anything like some words. Oh yeah, that will happen. That will happen. Ah, Honkai Star Rail. Honka Honka Star Bazonkas. I see. I love how Kafka was so popular in Honkai Star Rail that other gachas start making their own Kafkas at home. The internet was collectively gushing for that character. I still feel like I might have made the head too big for the commission. Let me see. Take our boy here and put him side to side. Yeah, she definitely has a much bigger head. Delikov Kaino is the one who made Metamorphosis with Ledge to my beautiful boy Gregor. It's a mummy character, basically, Lunatic. You know the type. Okay, but can you guess what my favorite identity in the game is? Identity, not ego. Because if it was ego, I actually know that it's it's wifey Gregor. But identity, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Wild Hunt Heathcliff. Since you actually cosplayed it. I mean, in a sense, it brings you joy, right? You know what? Let's keep it that size. It's fine. I made her a little big. It's gonna be fine. Favorite ID is actually K-Corp Honglu. Ah, I see. That one is pretty funny. Man, it's so funny. When Momochi saw the new Dawn ID, she was like, oh, this is definitely gonna be Rupture. I was like, I don't know, could be Burn. And she was like, no way, it's green. All Rupture IDs have a green motif today. It will definitely be Rupture. And then it was Burn. Just love that ID. Because you can solo Mirror Dungeons with it. But at the same, it's like an it's both invincible and extremely risky at the same time. There are a few reasons to love it, honestly. There's a whole minigame to it. Also, actually find out you can solo with it later. Also, chat, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit more recently. In the newest update of Master Duel, they added some highly anticipated, very OP cards. Call it the Fiendsmiths. And it's actually very few cards that together with like an older card, they form this package essentially that you can put in nearly every deck and makes the deck stronger because it adds more tools for you to deal with certain situations that your archetype may or may not be equipped to deal with. And honestly, I thought that was pretty fun. Sure, there's a tier 0 running around that abuses it, but hey, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! That always happens. Which then made me realize a very, very important thing that I got wrong when I was younger and played the game. Just really like the design, the whole multiple lives things, the healing is cool, the keycard precision staff, just really cool. Just like everything about it, right? I discovered that I don't hate powerful cards or archetypes like I thought I did. What I hate is them not being accessible. And I think there are a lot of players who kind of were like me that are in denial about certain aspects of the game. Or like, oh, you're playing a meta deck, you meta cheap, that's not cool, etc, etc, etc. But really, it's not necessarily that the deck is too powerful or has a play pattern that you don't particularly like. It's the fact that not everyone is gonna have access to it, which creates two awkward situations. If you have access to it and you play and you win, but the other person didn't have access to it to fight back properly, it feels like bullying. And if you don't have the cards and someone is actively using against you, it feels like you're being bullied. Pressure to spend money, even. But good guess with the Wild Hunt fact. The reason I decided to cosplay him is because I sat in a car once and looked exactly like Wild Hunt, which made one image. Nice! UT1. Ah, I see, I see. There we go. And I do the shadow here. So yeah, when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Physically, the monetary component ended up playing a huge part in my enjoyment of the game. It really did, because the game started becoming increasingly more expensive. I was in that exact pose and went, huh, wait, my hair looks similar. I could actually pull this off. Nice! Here and here. But now that I've been able to play Master Duel essentially for free, the game can be surprisingly generous if you know how to extract the free currency well enough. As per most free-to-play games, you kind of have to game the system. And there is a point where you're cornered, but compared to other games, I feel like I actually have plenty of decks for free. I never actually spend any money on the game, and I'm still able to play it decently. I just don't go for whatever is the most powerful all the time. And take long breaks between playing. So I take full advantage of the catch-up mechanics that are built into the game. Play for a while, disappear, play for a while, disappear. That kind of stuff. So playing on Master Duel, I've been able to play more with some of these powerful cards that I was very annoyed when I played the card game physically. Because of how hard they were to get. My issue with the cards weren't even the power level, it was just the fact that I couldn't get access to them. And whenever I was playing against someone who had them, it just felt very hard and very unfair, and I was trying to find any possible way that I could to not play with them. Playing decks that specifically could not play the cards that were most powerful. Which was kind of how I landed on Flower Guardian at one point, because that archetype was like, you can't play anything outside the archetype's cards. Anything at all. So you actually have to run a deck with 0 hand traps in order to play Flower Guardians optimally. And that was my last Yu-Gi-Oh deck. That was the last Yu-Gi-Oh deck I made. In order to continue playing the game, having to use Ash Blossom was like ubiquitous because it was too strong. The hand trap. So that was about the time where I just decided to quit. Then I got into Cardfight Vanguard. And then I tried to avoid meta decks like they were the plague. Restarting the cycle. And then the game died down here in Brazil. And I just stopped playing card games in general. IRL. I still play them online, but you know. There we go. I do miss Vanguard a lot. I miss Vanguard a lot. There is no way to play the game digitally. Unless you're willing to pay for a very buggy, very bad game. Okay, you're gonna sleep now. Alright, Lunatic, have a good one. Have sweet dreams, okay? Bye-bye. Good night. I talk a lot about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it was a big part of my life, but I do have to ask one thing. Chat, who here actually ever played Yu-Gi-Oh? Be honest. Never played Yu-Gi-Oh? I see, I see. As I figured. Hey, Ali! I know you did. How are you doing? Yeah. I did talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! From time to time, but I have a feeling most of my viewer base doesn't really play a whole lot. And that's fine. Just woke up? That's nice, that's nice. Did you get a good breakfast? According to legend, it is supposed to be the most important meal of the day. Though here in Brazil, we treat it like a snack meal, really. It's usually like bread and toast and that's that. Maybe some fruit. here. I ended up making the... Woke up and started streaming bad. Ah, I see. Okay. Just don't forget to eat your breakfast, okay? It's important. So let's see. So this ponytail goes here. Alright. Yeah, this one got a little bigger than this one in terms of size. I wonder if I should make it smaller. I think I can animate it fine regardless. She does have two fangs, by the way. The reference arts likes to assume people know that. Ah. Good to know. I figured it was one of those cute anime girls having only one fang sticking out situations. Fantastic, indeed. Here we go. But yeah, so it's been really funny playing my old ninja deck. Being able to actually do stuff because I just jammed Fiendsmith in there and it's like 4 cards. It doesn't even take up that much space. Doesn't take up much space. Surprisingly doesn't conflict with the engine. With the ninja stuff. It doesn't make the deck go to tier 0 by any means, but it does make it so that there are times when you can actually win against other decks. Because that was the bigger problem. Ninjas had like an extra wave of support, but that extra wave of support came so late in Master Duel because they wanted to make the ninjas into a starter deck that when they actually came out, the deck was already considered underpowered by the developing meta. And I wasn't really able to play a lot of good games with it. Which is sad, because, you know, Ninja VTuber. Oh yeah! I don't know if I ever told you guys this. Back when I was starting to do streaming, I actually got randomly invited to a VTuber Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, which had some very interesting rules, but also it was the first time the organizer was trying to do something like that, so some of the rules ended up becoming complicated. My deck was a Toon deck based around Toon Dark Magician Grows and Toon Red Eyes. Ah. Nowadays they have, I believe it's Toon Blackluster Soldier. I think it's the strongest Toon card there is. It is also a very powerful one. Because I think it has the same effects as the old Blackluster Soldier Envoy of Beginning. So you get to attack twice with it if you kill a monster by combat, and you can also not attack with it to banish a card. I think maybe it like has a different effect and it lets you banish and still attack regardless, which would be pretty cool. But I think, who was it that actually played with that deck? Was it Subaru? No, Subaru played with the Dark Magician deck. There was one of the Hololive girls. Oh yeah, Pecora. Pecora plays. Sorry. Ooh, hold up. Need more water. Sorry, I lost my voice there for a sec. Festoon deck doesn't play any Tomb Monsters? Really? Pecora, huh? Strange how it all goes back to Kojima. Thank you for the stretch, Isaiah. Wait, how does Pecora relate to Kojima? And Kojima used to work for Konami, which is responsible for publishing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Thank you for the hydrate. It's his favorite VTuber, really? That's awesome. Man, I remember that one video where there's this snake cosplayer who was sneaking around the Konami headquarters, and he runs into Kojima, and Kojima goes like, cancel all my appointments for today, and he joins the snake cosplayer into sneaking around. That video is so good. Have you guys ever seen that video? Don't think I did. It's really good. It's really good. I don't know how that video actually went, because it's a very high produced video. So I don't know if the cosplayer contacted Kojima if he could appear in the video together, or if mid-shoot they found Kojima there and Kojima just joined it in. But regardless, it's a really funny video. It's a really funny video. Actually, hold up for just a second. Can I actually do this? Let me see. Jima. Let me cosplay. Ah, man. It's not gonna be easy to find. Unfortunately, this video is probably like 10 years old by now. Yeah, it's gonna take some digging. It's gonna take some digging. It's not something I can just pull up like no problem in the middle of the stream to show. That one will actually take some digging. Too bad. I don't know how to search for it because I don't remember the name of the cosplayer who did the video. Unfortunately, too many videos are uploaded on YouTube each day, so some of the classics just get buried. Man, you know what's funny? The original Metal Gear for the Nintendo system, it was for the Famicom, right? Got completely butchered when it was brought to the West. It actually got completely butchered because they took away all the stealth elements from the game to turn it into a more standard shooting up game. And because of that, the game became almost unplayable. The original Metal Gear is kind of a trash game in the English version of it. It is so funny. I think most people they had their initiation on the PlayStation 1. Yeah, Metal Gear on NES, exactly. Exactly. The English version of that, they removed most of the stealth elements of the game from the game. And redid the boss fights and stuff like that to be more action-oriented, but also harder. It is not. It absolutely is not. Supposedly, the Japanese version is much better because it has the stealth elements and doesn't have the edited difficulty. Which was a thing during the Nintendo and Super Nintendo era. Super Nintendo era, not so much. The Nintendo era, though, absolutely. They would artificially increase the difficulty of the games that were being released in the West. Because, well, actually, the reason is kind of nebulous. My understanding is that it was to fight the game rental side market, right? At the time, it was believed that rental stores were the bane of gaming by the gaming companies, because it meant people could play the games without buying a copy. They hated that. But there was no legal way they could prevent a rental store from buying their games and renting them. So they went about it in a very interesting way. Instead, they decided to make sure that games could not be beaten in a single weekend by making them extra hard. So the idea of how that system would work is kid rents a game, kid can't beat the game, kid needs to buy game in order to learn how to beat the game, so kid can finally beat the game. So they did this by creating those... Yeah, I remember Nintendo really hating people selling games secondhand. Not just that, selling games secondhand was not just Nintendo. I think most game companies hate secondary game markets, right? They're like, grrr, this person bought a unused version of this game. They could have bought it a brand new one and that money would have gone straight to us. Grrr, that kind of stuff. Which I don't think it's true. I don't really agree with that position at all, because it's like... Let's be real. Buying a brand new copy is usually better than buying an used copy, right? You run less, you don't have the risk of there being any scratches on the CD. This person's having fun arresting him. Pretty much. So yeah, no. It was borderline psychotic. Same could be said with game piracy because, like, truth be told, a lot of people who pirated games did so because they didn't have the money to afford the games. And a lot of people who pirate games won't necessarily buy a copy of a game just because they don't have the means to pirate it. So I'm not entirely sure how much of the market you actually lose through piracy. Like, take my country for instance. The PlayStation 2 was officially released in Brazil around the time the PlayStation 3 was rolling out. But people played PlayStation 2 games in Brazil way before that, thanks to piracy, essentially. Piracy, imported consoles, usually imported from Paraguay, not from the US. And the main reason they were losing money to the Brazilian market wasn't because it was full of piracy, it was because they didn't release the console here. And then they released it. It was a little bit too late. But I do think it actually sold pretty well, if I'm not mistaken. But it's still a weird thing to think about. Wanna hear another weird thing? Nintendo didn't wanna release their console in Brazil originally. Did you know that? There were like some slight issues with the energy cables, but there was a company that was interested in helping Nintendo bring the console to Brazil, and they even had and they were trying to make an arrangement. Nintendo used that excuse to say that it was impossible because of the energy cable situation. So the company that was interested in helping port over the Nintendo, and at least 3 people at the MLS job who exclusively play Nintendo Pirates game because it was easy. Yeah, but like, would they actually have been like, if piracy is illegal now, guess I'll buy the game, or something, or more like, guess I'll do something else, or guess I'm gonna find another way to pirate the game? That is my question. But like, listen to this. So, the Brazilian company got shut down by Nintendo because they said there was no workaround for the cable system. So they actually created a workaround for the cable system. They took a Nintendo console, they modified it with the new cable system, and then they brought back and showed it to them. See, it's possible. We actually did it. We have the technology. Yeah, Gaben said it like best, like in what, 10 years from now? Really? And then you know what Nintendo did? Nintendo still said no. They just didn't wanna do business with Brazil, and it was just an excuse. So they just said, no, we're not doing business with you. And you know what happened? Through a miraculous and very strange legal copyright laws here in Brazil, the company created their own console that was essentially the Nintendo system, and sold all non-Nintendo exclusive games legally here in Brazil, essentially creating a an official bootleg console of the Nintendo, which was called the Phantom System, and I had it. If I knew I wish I knew that that console was so historically relevant. I would have kept it. But then again, those orphans wouldn't get access to my old video game, because the way my mom did things in the house was whenever game consoles and toys that I had were getting old, they were all going to be donated to charity. Nintendo really dislikes relying on third parties when it comes to bring consoles to the country. I know, but like that's like the worst outcome possible. The easiest way to stop pirates is not put anti-pirates technologies by giving people a service that's better than what they're receiving from the pirates. You know, that was actually Netflix's motto when they started their business shoe. They were like, people download a lot of movies. What if we made streaming instead and charged a little bit for the convenience of watching said movies? And they were right. People pay for convenience. They also sometimes brought games that were technically Nintendo exclusive, but they changed the artwork and the context of the game so much that somehow it bypassed. Yeah, with stuff like that, I fear what's gonna happen after Gabe is gone. Yeah. That's something we're gonna have to worry later. That's something we're gonna have to worry later. Good God. The world could use less Bobby Kotick's at the moment. That's assuming that games are still purchasable after Gabe is gone. That is true. That is true. Well, there is good old games, GOG. They are an alternative platform to Steam. And the people who are in charge are very keen on preserving old media. It's basically the people, I think it's the same people from Project Red, the people who run like The Witcher stuff. And they've been doing a really good job of finding old versions of games and making them work on up-to-date PCs. Oh. That is an issue. see. There is too much hatred in the world. Here we go. So what do you think you're going to do when it comes to the transformation colors? I'm not entirely sure. I think I want to try to do the shapes first and then go for the colors. But I was thinking of... like starting... Maybe at the middle of the transformation, while it's still the stout, we start changing the palette. We can change the palettes. Could be a thing. Oh, just a second, my dog's at the door. Oh, there you go. I'm back. Doggo was scratching at the door. Transformation animation is very interesting. It's actually been a while. At one point, one thing I want to do is try to experiment to do a version of the Sexy no Jutsu where it's what actually happens under the puff of smoke. Would be pretty interesting. Try to do that at one point. Oh, thank you, Mamachi. Neckline like this in the art is quite interesting to do. Is but the better way to do this is to make a color difference. Now that I have your invoice, what do you think of Alarin and Yorla? Oh, they're DLC's names? I like them, I think they're cool. Here we go. You make cool OCs, Ali. You make cool OCs. Oh my god. I was brought a small feast of biscuits. Like I said, the Cinderella boy gimmick is so underexplored. It's so underexplored. I got some biscuits. They're very tasty. Well. There we go. Shading feels a little bit flat here. Like this. Maybe like... Oh yeah, I picked a color already. This one. There we go, much better shade color. Weird. Yes, it's a... I don't know why, my headset is picking up some noise. Is my audio okay? You're now associated with Fun with my mind. Eh? Hey, you voluntarily came to watch that anime with us. That was your own decision. Take responsibility for it. Ow. Eep. Ow. What can I say? I need to eat to replenish my energies. Actually, the V-neck line is like this. There we go. Is this a pertinent line for the drawing? I don't really think it is too much. Nah, I think we can live without it, actually. Gonna buy more fast food, and that's money that isn't going to you. Careful with the fast food. Not because it's money that's not going for me, but because too much of it. Sorry. Yeah. Got something stuck in my throat. Too much of it isn't necessarily good for you. I'm surprised you jumped into the transformation, not just putting it into trash. Actually... Who said I didn't? I did the base price. Thank you. It was getting late, so I thought, like, one important thing when you're doing art is that sometimes you need to let it... it's kind of like baking a pie, right? You need to let... After you're done, technically you still need to let the dough rest. So this usually happens a lot if I'm like, I get overexcited that I finished something and I show it to the person right away. Whenever I do that, right in the process of, sometimes at the process of me posting it to the person, or just a little bit after, I will notice something wrong, like something out of place, animation that isn't there. And other times it will take a while. I hate when that happens, because obviously I don't like to show a work that isn't done yet. So the best way to make sure you won't make any mistakes is you let it sit for a day or two, because when you're working too much on a single piece, your eyes can become biased, which means that if there is a mistake in the picture and you haven't seen it, right, it will mean that your eyes are gonna get biased, they're not gonna be able to pick up the mistake for a while. But if you take a break, you let it rest, and you go do something else for an hour or two, or sometimes, depending if you're working at night, leave it to the next day. Then you will be able to see any mistakes that might have eluded you the first time, and then you can fix them. So that waiting period is very important. Are they going to transform in the trash can? Because technically they are the same of character instead of the true characters. So I was going to ask about that actually, because technically the transformation animation is actually a little bit complicated to do compared to the animations that I have been doing already. One thing that I was thinking that maybe we could do is make... Let me make sure I don't mistake their names. Is make Arloine pick out of the trash can. She blinks. And then she widens her eye a little bit. Then she goes back into the trash can faster than the regular animation. And then Niorla emerges in a much faster fashion, gives a little wink, and then goes down normally. Kind of like she goes, uh-oh. It's like an implied transformation. Also, I have an abundance of chocolate cookies. Do you guys want some? Technically, they're biscuits. Oh, here I am on the wrong layer again. There we go. Man, the other day I was reminded of a book that's like one of the considered Brazilian masterpieces of literature. It is a very curious book that was written during a time where cheating was considered the most amazing thing you can write about in Western literature. And it started with a French, the movement started with a French book called Madame Bovary. I think it was called Realism. And it was kind of like a bunch of writers circle jerking about how they hated idealistic romance novels. And how that's not how the real world works. So they wrote all these books about women being unfaithful and then getting... and then suffering tragic fates or stuff like that. It was like almost like an anti-Twilight movement. It's very weird when you stop to look at it historically. But there's one man, the myth, the legend, Machado de Assis. All right. The most historically whitewashed black author that ever lived in Brazil. Because God, the military government, hated the fact that he was black. They literally painted him white in school book photos. Literal whitewashed historical figure. He decided to write a book that was like that, but completely different from that, that got people from his time completely stumped. Because he wrote the book where a husband thinks his wife is cheating on him, becomes absolutely insane and paranoid, insanely paranoid, right? Casual whitewashing, not compare competitive whitewashing. Oh god. Becomes insanely paranoid. And you know what? The book never tells if she was cheating or not. All that matters was the reaction of the husband thinking she was cheating, trying to do everything to find out, and failing. It was... I think it was like... the most... I believe... in my personal opinion, he was trolling everyone who was circle jerking each other, saying that the cheating books were kind of like that, because these books all followed a formula that started with the French book called Madame Bovary, where you have a husband who is like a weak man. There's like this aspect of weakness of the husband. The husband is either not very manly to the time standards, or there's this one book where there's almost a gay subtext, where the guy actually had a best friend who he spent a lot of time in the bedroom, and we don't see what happens in the bedroom, so it's kind of like, does it really matter at that point if she's cheating on him or not? But anyways. Weird historical gay subtext aside. Which could probably still be solved by both of them if they had an arrangement when it came to their marriage. But neither here nor there. And I don't remember how the book goes. All I know is that it's kind of amazing. There are people who argue to this day whether or not the wife was actually cheating. And I personally think that's kind of missing the point of the story, because the story was about practically a Shakespearean story of a guy who gets obsessed with an idea and lets it consume him entirely. And I wanted to read it, but because it's also a very textbook, it's a very scholarly book, right? You have to read it in school and stuff. Every time I try to find like an audiobook, there's like this huge section of book study guys trying to talk about the works and etc. And I'm like, I just wanna hear the story, bro. I just wanna hear the story. I don't care if you think she cheated on the guy or not. I just wanna hear the story. Because he's a very special author. He's a very special author. I believe one of his other books is called I don't know how to translate the word posthumous, but essentially it's like letter that you write after your death, or the after that memories of a militia soldier. Which is basically the story of a middle class guy who was kind of a fuck up and lands a cushy job and just lives a life that feels kind of meaningless, and he dies, and Mother Earth like offers him, like she offers everyone, a chance to recapitulate their own lives and think about what they did while they were alive. No judgment attached, even. It's a very cynical book, but it's also very entertaining. He also wrote Weekend at Bernie's. In like, I don't know, the 1980s or something? Hold up, when was he alive? Ah, 1839 to 1908. Right. Yeah, so like 2 centuries back. My dude wrote Weekend at Bernie's in the 1800s. Do you get that? This one was a short story, but it's like a really funny one. Basically, Quincas Borbas was a family embarrassment. He was a drunk, he liked to party a lot, He never worked hard a single day of his life, and his family hated him because he was just munching off the family and not really doing anything with his life. He was basically an embarrassment for the good Catholic family. And he was also beloved by all his friends. All his party friends loved him. So then one day he dies. And the family couldn't be happier that he's finally dead. The excess boozing and partying finally took his life away. So he can finally stop embarrassing the family. They can put him in a coffin with a suit, the thing he hated the most to wear. And they won. That's how the story starts. That's how the story starts. But then they leave his coffin unattended before the funeral can happen. And I don't remember why, but one of his drinking buddies sees him in the coffin and thinks he's taking a nap, because that is not unlike the kind of shenanigans he would get himself into. So he opens the coffin, notices that he is really... he is like kind of wobbly, and is like, oh my god, no wonder you're sleeping in that coffin, you've been drinking a lot, huh? And then he takes him out to party. He takes the body of the dead guy to party. And no one notices he is dead throughout the whole thing. The family loses the body, they're looking everywhere. And the guy, the body is like is at the bar. A bunch of ladies are flocking to him. Some are dancing on his lap. Bro is having the party of his life after his death. Brazilian literature is something else. That's another one I should probably read again. It's been a long time. There we go. Yeah, I really like this shadow color. And add a few details here. I remember his books were much more palatable to me growing up than the ones than some of the other ones. Some were just too heavy, or while others were like really, really boring, right? There was this one that was extremely sugar water romance book about a guy who is like, I will never get married, I will never fall in love, and then he meets a girl that he falls in love with, and then it is revealed that they were childhood friends and that they made a promise to marry a long time ago in front of a mystical old man inside a cave somewhere. And then they got married. The end. No, really, that's the whole book. I think it has 200 pages for that story. You'd think it would be a short book, but it's not. There we go. Alright, I think this is good. Okay. New frame. Uh-oh. Let me fix this. There we go. Chat real quick. I need to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back, okay? And we're back. Mm. See. Okay, now the cool part is that I get to do the eyes. Hold up. Are the eyes 1 pixel too far from each other? This is a thing. Shatamate. Have to check this. That's good. It doesn't look weird when mirrored. No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. That's just a little trick. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the best one. Yeah. So... Nah, I think the eyes can be bigger, actually. Yeah, no, like this is better. Like this is better. I like this better. There we go. Now we have it. Now we have it. I don't think I can use the same trick I used it on the other time though. Here. This one. Move over here a little bit. Put it like this. And a little bit more here. There we go. Mhm. Yeah, this is should there be a bit too close. There we go. Okay. Okay, I get what the reference artist is doing because the snout is gonna go over here, which is absolutely true. Also, I hope I'm saying the word right. Now, the wolf snout is obviously gonna be longer than the stout snout, but the question is by how much? How much? Also, chat, did you see that a new Hexmaniac design dropped? I wanna draw it sometime. I really wanna draw it. I don't know when exactly Hexmaniac became extra super popular. But it's really funny that whenever a Pokemon character gets really popular, their tits blast off their chest and become ultra mega huge. It is incredible. Like, I do understand, partially, but it's like, okay, just to be clear, just to be clear, we really like the outfit and the hair, but by her current age, the current age of this character is not what we like. So we're gonna make the aged up version, and the best way to make the aged up version looks aged up is to make sure she's also caked up. So there will be no ambiguity regarding that. It is pretty funny though. It's like the original Hexmaniac is very... I mean, you can't really tell because she wears like baggy clothes, right? And the Pokemon art style for the games doesn't really work with massive Bazonga Hadonka Badongas. Because all the characters are slightly chibi. They have proportions that remember the original games. Which isn't quite chibi, but it's very close. They have more modest proportions than the artist tends to give than in fan arts, to say the least. You say this, but James had big Hadonkas. That is true, though. That is true. James had the biggest Honka Badongas. That reminds me of a webcomic I saw once that I really should not talk about. So I won't. Anyways. God. I wonder if King Space still exists. People just had webcomics where they just did stuff. They absolutely just did whatever. And to this day, I don't know if there were any rules. I just remember that I got baited so many times by some of those old comics. I remember that there was one. There is Rule 34. That's fair. That is fair. That is a rule, yes. I just remember that there was this one webcomic I found once that I read like one page and then walked away. It was basically this comic about like everyone was dragon people, and I was like, oh, everyone is dragon people in this. Is this gonna be like some amazing fantasy story? Because everyone is a dragon. This is a world that is ruled by dragons instead of humans. What kind of amazing world building we're gonna have in this webcomic where everyone is a dragon? And then they went to high school, they got high on weed and drunk at parties. And then I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really understood the concept of furries/scalies very well at the time. So I was genuinely puzzled. Why would you bring dragon people into your story if you're gonna do like a slice of life, teenage life sort of thing? I had no idea. Why wouldn't it be a fantasy story? I remember feeling really baited by that at the time. Ah, so young, so naive. Mm-hmm. This is definitely... Let me get these proportions a little bit better. There we go. And there were so many. I remember there was this webcomic that was basically a giant OC parade. And there was a shape-shifting squirrel girl. Who would live in the main character's basement, and they would have like a sort of a weird open relationship. It was very wish fulfillment. There was a lot of wish fulfillment in that. Mm-hmm. And Kin Space was kind of funny because it was absolutely a window into everyone's own little weird fantasies of their own, you know? I've seen some stuff, man. I've seen some stuff. Was King Space and King Spot? King Spot was also the other one. I don't know if they were owned by the same person or if they were rivals. It was never very clear to me. Today it's Spotify. Not for webcomics. I think for webcomics is that... What's it called? Webtoons? I think Webtoons is the go-to now. I never actually read anything on Webtoons. I don't really know how the site works. Man, I used to like reading webcomics so much when I was younger. It was like my main internet activity. I think we're good here. Are we though? Eyes are okay. The nose, I think. Maybe I could make it longer for like... Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That way. Hey cutie kitty, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Oop to you too. How are you doing today? I am figuring out proper proportions here. This is gonna be interesting because once I'm done, we're actually doing like a werewolf transformation. Oh, you went shopping. What were you shopping? What did you shop for? What you get? What you get? Did you get new clothes? Maybe maybe Pokemon cards? Bikinis! Nice. Hope you found something cute. Don't think this Shing works in pixel art like that. Yeah, better to keep it more. I did, not gonna share though. Ah. Good. As long as you find something that's nice and fitting, that's all that matters. It's rough going to buy stuff and not finding things your size. I hate that so much. Why is she looking at me like that? Why are you looking at her like that? Isaiah, huh? Well, that probably means I did the eyes all right. So, nice. That is good. That is what we're going for. And that actually reminds me, I used to play Cardfight Vanguard, and the game had an actual tribe of furries. You could have a furry deck in it. Because the game was divided into clans, which basically they serve the same function as archetypes in games, right? So you had you had nations, and the nations were divided up into different decks that you could use. And the furry clan was actually one of the most fun to play, because their lore was that they were part of an university that was studying the mysteries of evolution. So the animals there became anthropomorphized because they learned magic in order to become furries, essentially. But the end goal wasn't just to become a bipedal furry. Their end goal was to turn into furry dragons. So it was an archetype where the most powerful units were all fluffy dragons. Or feather dragons, depending. And the in-game mechanics were studying too hard and crashing out after. Or using your classmates as test subjects, depending on the unit that you were using. There was a in-lore explanation for what was happening. Yeah, no, it was really, really funny. It's played slightly like a villain deck. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with card game anime tropes. But usually in animes, the villain will usually have a deck that is about sacrificing units, because it shows how determined he is to get victory at any cost, right? So I remember in the first season there was Ren, which was a character who would play this deck that was basically color swapped versions of the protagonist decks. It's like the protagonist had a paladin deck, but Ren had a dark paladin deck. Ooh. Which was basically the same card with a black coat of paint. And the lore of that deck was really fucking funny, because the shadow, it was called the Shadow Paladins. And I knew this wolf looked familiar. This is an OC, Isaiah. someone's OC. What's Cloud Meadow? I think I heard people talking about that. I believe there were people that asked my wife Momochi to play that. Oh, is that like that Monster Girl Shmenta game? Is that the one? More like furry breeding program? I see. Fair enough. Is it a pixel art one? Do I need to study that one eventually? Technically speaking, I did get a big breakthrough in art style because I look at a Flipwitch. Huh. Gonna have to look it up eventually then. Good to know. Art style animations are pretty solid. Nice. That is a very important aspect of this type of game. Not safe for work artists have a tendency to develop a lot in art style because they just need to study anatomy a whole lot. Here. Let me see. But yeah, the game, the clan was pretty fun. It was called Megazoo. And basically the way it worked was you gave power-up counters to your creatures, but at the end of the turn they would be retired. And retiring means being destroyed. Great Nature, not Megazoo, you're right, sorry Momochi. Megazoo? No. Was Megazoo the nation? I think it was something Zoo, the nation was something Zoo, right? Yeah, it was Great Nature. Nature was just Zoo? I see, I see. Wow, it's been a while if I'm getting the name wrong. It's been a hot minute. Interesting. Zoo Nation rise up. Pretty much. And unfortunately, for the most part of the game, they were woefully unsupported. But yeah, meanwhile, and the lore version why they got retired at the end of the turn was either they were graduating, which is very VTuberish, or they got tired from studying too hard, or they were being experimented on and they overclocked themselves. So then you had to retire the unit. But, and this was the important part, a lot of the units had effects that activated when they were retired. So you would power up a unit, and then when it exploded at the end of the turn, it would actually draw you cards. They would draw you cards, sometimes search other copies of themselves, give you some advantage. So it was always an advantage related effect to mitigate the fact that they would explode. And there was even like the funny little quirky things you could do with combos, where you could stack draw effects on top of each other. So you could have a single unit that when it got retired because of the power-up, you would draw like 2 cards, or 3 cards, or even 4 cards. Suddenly that unit dying became the most valuable thing in the world for you. Meanwhile, the Shadow Paladin clan, which originally was the Evil clan, had an extremely similar playstyle with units that granted you advantage if they got exploded, but the in-lore version of why they got exploded was because they were being manipulated by an evil dragon that was devouring their mana. So in order to power up your Magna powerful dragon, you would eat up your weaker units for like the dragon to like attack again, get a giant power boost, deal more damage when the attack hits, break guard, that kind of stuff. Mechanically, they were doing the exact same thing, but lore-wise, it was from a very different angle. I just think that is funny. And also there was Tachikaze, but no one remembers Tachikaze until they suddenly became a tier 1 meta thread. I wonder if VTubers can do the same. What, burn out and explode? I mean, probably. Or do you mean? Make card games? We'll see. What do you mean, Isaiah? I actually want to hear this. Effect when graduating. Ah, I see. Depend on the terms that they graduated. Like, for instance, some VTubers reincarnate when they graduate. Except for Great Depression for budlings and stuff. Like, for instance, technically they can, because some A lot of corporate VTubers go indie when they graduate. Turn into a furry dragon? That is called a redebut, Momochi. That is called a redebut. Look at Amelia. Amelia became a gerbil. Became a train conductor gerbil. She reincarnated herself. I feel the head of the wolf is smaller. Also, both characters have a difference in height too. Can we play tic-tac-toe in it? Did you know someone did the math and apparently you can only have 14 different variations of tic-tac-toe? And one of the sides is severely disadvantaged in the possible variations of tic-tac-toe you can have, where it's impossible for them to win in... I think in all the variations of tic-tac-toe, one of the sides only win in like 4 of them or something. Someone actually ran the math in tic-tac-toe to prove that it's not a good game. Gotta love the internet. Gotta love the internet. Here's the mathematical equation of every game of tic-tac-toe. Turns out it wasn't that much, so I could do it. I just think that's funny. Well, that's boring. What fun is psychology? What fun is psychology behind rock, paper, scissors? It's true. It's true. That reminds me of this one really weird story where apparently there was this really big business decision that ended up having to business dispute that ended up having to be solved in rock, paper, scissors. I think it was in Japan. And the guy who never lost to a child after I discovered the secret behind rock. That you mean that rock is used usually when the person is feeling insecure, so they need to go for something that they feel is solid, so they unconsciously go to rock? I use rock because I'm too lazy to open my hand. Or that. Rock is the faster one to use. Because technically you kind of start at rock, right, by default. Momochi, smash. I love and hate when games tries to use rock, paper, scissors as a means of balancing their games, and then they just fail horribly at it. I love it because it's really, really funny when it happens, but also really, really egregious. That's actually what happened in one of the seasons of Cardfight Vanguard, they introduced a system that was meant to be a rock, paper, scissors system, where certain decks had a natural advantage against other decks, and they clumped all the different clans into the playstyle of those attributes. Yeah. They divided every single deck in the game into 3 categories. You are either a Force deck, an Excel deck, or a Protect deck. Force deck was essentially mid-range. It was more about beating down with raw strength and gaining solid amount of values throughout the game. Excel was like the rush deck, which was more focused on rushing down your opponent, multi-attacking, and gaining advantage early in the game, but usually falling off if the game lasted too long. And Protect decks were supposed to be more stallish control style decks, where the main goal was to just take your sweet time playing while you're set up in some mega powerful combo, which will eventually lead you to a very powerful kill turn. Or you will outlast your opponent in a grind war, theoretically. So the way it was supposed to work, right, was that Excel decks, which were the Rushy deck, was supposed to fold to mid-range decks, which were the Force decks. The Protect decks were supposed to be powerful against the Force decks, because they could outlast the Force deck's strength. And the Rush decks would be fast enough to outpace the Protect decks before they could be able to amass enough resources for their ultimate killing blow turn. That was the theory behind it. And if that sounds kinda boring because you have a game that has a bunch of different decks and you're basically turning all your different decks into essentially 3 decks, because it was. I think it is the least liked not season, the least liked age of Vanguard. They kind of had to reboot the game after that because of how people didn't really enjoy themselves a lot in that format. And the funny part is that that format happened right after they rebooted the game. They had to reboot the game twice because they didn't get it right the first time. And they failed. They failed so hard to create a rock, paper, scissors balance type system. Because here's what happens. Strictly speaking, Force was rock, Excel was scissor, and Protect was paper. But the game already started with something very iffy going on. There were less clans, numerically wise, there was less Protect clans than there were Force and Excel clans. Excel had the most amount of clans. Had the most amount of clans in their style. So the distribution of rock, paper, and scissor throughout the game was uneven. Then, when Excel came out for the first time, Excel was kind of garbage. The idea of the deck having being rushy at the start and falling off in the late game didn't work for a card game that had an RNG-based system where you could get defensive boosts during your opponent's turn based entirely on RNG. With the way that they had balanced Exo decks, that meant if the opponent hit that RNG while you were mounting off your rushy offense statics, your turn would just be over. And if your turn was just over, and you were going to be outpaced next turn, then you already lost. Because you overcommitted your investment, your resources. And meanwhile, Force, because it was meant to be a balance between offense and defense, the decks that were released for Force were so painfully basic to play. So I am literally doing nothing but like getting some extra cards and summoning things to the field to beat up with increasingly higher power. We cast Rock. That originally, Paper ended up being the OP clan, because Paper could Paper, or in other words Protect, could randomly stop the counter, which was Scissors, which was Excel, by complete RNG, and would just be more powerful and interesting than Force. So then, in order to correct the fact that Protect was kind of prevalent, basically it was just one clan. Just one clan was being prevalent in the game and winning everything. They've decided to make Scissors stronger. So they did that in an interesting way. Clan that I played, called Murakumo, was released in this format for the first time. And they decided that they would give Scissor some paper qualities. So they made a deck that had the ability to stall. They made a rush deck that also had the ability to control. So what do you call playing a Scissor deck? Well, basically it's a deck that can cut through the opponent's defenses, right? Or do you mean as a joke, like, haha, scissoring? Is that what you mean, Isaiah? Is it haha, scissoring funny? Beautiful. So out comes Murakumo, and Murakumo comes with a rather funny special ability. It had the ability to stop the opponent's Vanguard from attacking for one turn. And even if you don't know what the game even is about, you know that the name is called Cardfight Vanguard. So stopping the Vanguard from attacking is probably an important thing to do, right? But yeah, they gave controlling abilities. So what ended up happening was, and that controlling ability also hit the resource generation of the opponent at the same time. So basically when you activated the skill for that clan's boss, you would simultaneously stop your opponent from generating card advantage his base card advantage, stop the opponent from taking away too many cards from you, because this is a game where in order to stop attacks you have to guard using cards from the hand. So that would reduce the number of cards your opponent would be able to accrue during their turn, stop the amount of cards that the opponent can take away from you during their turn, and let you be in a position where you have where you have better card advantage, and you're more suited to do the base strategy, which is rush down your opponent with various attacks, with multi-attacks. For all the card complexity, all the cards that were available at the time, it was really OP. It was really OP. Like, technically, it was a very expensive skill. And thank you for the hydrate, and thank you for the stretch. Was a really powerful skill. It allowed for this... The only way to describe it is tempo swing, which is something that people who are uninitiated with card games have no idea what the hell do I mean. But basically, it's like... Tempo is like the rhythm of a game, right? It gave you... It stopped the opponent's momentum to do stuff against you very hard, and swung the game wildly in your favor. And it was something that was very dumb, that you technically could do every single turn. And also, the main dragon for the deck looked like Boba Fett. And you all know that Boba Fett is really powerful. So clearly, it was an OP deck. And when I say that, I mean it. Hold up. Behold my skeletal Boba Fett dragon! It's a ninja dragon, by the way. It was a ninja clan. Of course I was playing it. I actually bought this from a friend who had the deck but didn't really like it. So he just had a complete deck and he sold it to me. Then he stopped playing entirely and I never found a playgroup to terrorize with this deck ever again. So, yeah. But yeah, it was a very interesting situation. The card effect was very expensive, and you could use it twice per turn. Twice per turn, no. Twice per game. At max. Right? Stretching it really far, you could use it like twice per game. Most likely you were only going to be able to use it once per game. However, for the power level when it was released, that was enough to win. You only needed to use the big effect once, and you'd won. And all you needed in order to use it was taking enough damage, if you had taken enough damage, and having the specific units that were listed as the requirement for the card to activate the effect. And there you go. You lock your opponent out of playing. So yeah. I don't know if I could quite illustrate very well what happened in the game. But it wasn't very balanced. It just wasn't. Then they kind of started going around in order to rebalance the cards. They started giving, making decks kind of hybrid, so to speak. So you would have rock decks that would behave more like paper decks, and then you'd have scissor decks that behaved more like rock decks, and the paper decks that were kind of like scissor decks, but not really. And the well-defined rock, paper, scissors became completely messy. And then basically the scissor decks became the best decks because there were decks that could do the same thing that rock and paper were doing. And I believe at the height of the game, there was a meta that were only scissor decks and there was no protect deck in sight, because protect decks were pretty much unable to play the game with how prevalent the scissor decks were, and the rock decks weren't being able to keep the scissor decks down at all, so that paper could compete. So yes, in the end, it was World of Warcraft all over again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a video that explains that rogues are supposed to be scissors, warriors are supposed to be rock, and casters are supposed to be paper. But rock can't beat Scissor, because Scissor has used Vanish and disappeared. Scissor is all over the place killing paper, and rock is also killing paper, because rock is really powerful. And paper is crying in a corner. And that's why rock, paper, scissor style balancing just doesn't really work. It just doesn't work. Also, I'm way over my time. Guys, thank you all very much for joining me today. That is all the time we have for today. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night. Stay awesome. And now, you find someone to raid. Let's see here. Who is on? Who is on today? Is there anyone doing pixel art at the moment? Any pixel artist in the area? I don't think so. Yeah, not finding any today. Let's see, who is on that I know? Oh, let's go to this one. Let me go to this one. Okay, everyone, once again, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night. Stay awesome, and remember, when in doubt, when you think you can do it, just think like a ninja. And sure you can! Bye-bye, everyone! Have a good one! Bye! Bye-bye! Bye!